Hey everybody, welcome back to another Film of the Week. Hope you guys been enjoying the content channel as of late. I would like to apologize for the lack of content lately. My mother fell sick to the flu, and I've just been attending to her needs for the past couple of days. And we also have a cat, so I'm trying to, or at least for a while, I was trying to keep her away from my mother. She's very, very attached to my mother. And, restless nights with her, the cat, and that just messed up my sleep pattern. So I just, just not been in the a good state of mind to like be recording content stuff. So I'm a little bit better now. I just had a few hours of sleep not too long ago. So yeah. So I just wanted to explain that to you guys. That was just what's been going on. So hopefully we'll be back in the swing of things. And for today, we're going to be doing another film of the week because there's not much news, so we won't really do much there. But we are going to discuss a film that I am surprised that I have not talked about previously, because I thought I did. For some reason, I thought I had already talked about this film before, but I guess I haven't. So I figured to discuss it, and timely enough, since this is Valentine's Day, we guess we could talk about something in the vein of romance, something of an interesting romance, I must say. That film is Her, which was, I believe, written and directed by Spike Jonze. Spike Jonze, of course, a really well-known filmmaker, doing films in the past, such as Synagogue, New York, I believe that was one of them, or at least he was involved in some capacity. I believe has had a working relationship with Charlie Kaufman in the past. But just to name some of his films real quick before we get into this, as my internet is just deciding to take a nosedive on me. Directed films, of course, such as Being John Malkovich, Adaptation. He's also been very actively involved in the Jackass series as a writer. But he basically has directed that of 4 features. So, so Being John Malkovich, Adaptation, a film called Where the Wild Things Are. He was a producer on Sinkdosh, New York, not a writer or anything. But yeah, heavily involved in the Jackass series, and he made a splash with this film, Her, which came out in 2013, starring that of Joaquin Phoenix, who works as a clerk, working as a writer of sorts, writing pieces of love and just like very poignant writing. And this is set in the future. There's a backdrop of a future that takes place in this film, and Joaquin Phoenix is. As the film opens with this, shot of just his face, you get this idea that he is very detached. Even though he speaks very profoundly with that about emotion and that about love, he himself is actually quite lonely. So, as the film also illustrates through his very demeanor, Joaquin has this very like hunched type of demeanor. There's a great sense of loneliness, and also a sense of wanting to belong to somebody else, as is illustrated throughout the film, as he is trying to like talk to other people virtually, or at least through technology, as the film, as I said, takes place in the future. So there's a emphasis on the technological aspects of the very existence. And eventually he comes across a program, I believe, and the program that is voiced by Scarlett Johansson takes him on a bit of an experience, and Joaquin Phoenix's character becomes an enactor of it, becomes very involved, very fascinated, and starts to form a connection to this piece of technology, and becomes a question of what is love, and ultimately seeking that of a connection, and the very definition of what a connection means in the very spirit of such. So there's some supporting players as well, such as Amy Adams, Olivia Wilde, I believe, makes an appearance. Forget someone else. Someone else I believe is also in here. Let me just check real quick. I believe there's another player involved. What's his name? It's not John Krasinski. No, who am I thinking of? Am I thinking of John Krasinski? Chris Pratt, that's what I meant to say, sorry. Um, and of course, Rooney Mara as well. So this is an interesting piece because there is, some people will kind of chalk it up to just a man falling in love with his phone or whatever like that. And in that respect, I think that it is a very limiting view of what I think to be actually fairly sincere. Because the thing about her that I found very interesting, noteworthy of such, obviously, is to do with performances, which I think is the leading force ultimately in keeping this film very intriguing. On one level, there is an interesting concept at play with this futuristic backdrop and this relation to utilizing technology in the context of emotion. That goes back, of course, to classic pieces of science fiction, that of Blade Runner, that of like what it means to be that of like human, that about emotions, relation to that with artificial intelligence. That those sort of concepts have always been embedded within science fiction, and in the case of this, it is definitely utilizing those those specific ideas, and more so in the relation to a desire for belonging, a search for love, a search for connection, and perhaps a connection that has always been there, but one has been blind to because of their desire to look in a certain direction. And I think that her definitely explores those aspects, and I think they explore them very well. I think that in terms of its overall aesthetic, I found it to be very fascinating. I like, again, how ultimately the futuristic and portions of the film really just do sit in the background. It's not a film that wishes to involve itself in the future. It's just set in the future, if that makes sense. A lot of the technological things are just kind of floating in the back, where a lot of the things that we're seeing in the front is regular and present, present day material. And it also, in that, I feel, narratively speaking, it is seeking to also look more rudimentary and not just playing with aesthetic. And I appreciate that. And I think that's translated very well in terms of its performances. Because generally speaking, I think everyone does a very great job. Joaquin Phoenix, I think, always is very fascinating to watch. I thought Scarlett Johansson put in a good voice. Originally, it was supposed to be Samantha Morton, I believe, and the actual AI is named Samantha. So I was kind of an alluding to what was supposed to be with Samantha Morton, and then they ended up redoing the voice with Scarlett Johansson, and she does a good job. And the supporting players as well do well: Amy Adams, Rooney Mara. But I think that what I generally like about it is its commitment to its narrative and driving in that thematic interest, and not relying upon an aesthetic that is very much so playing in the background. And it's not a film that's very like there's nuances to it, but it's not nuances that are weighted so deeply to where it then feels crushed by its own ambitions. It just feels to where it is it feels a bit level, and it feels as though you can grasp its concepts on a certain level, and you're not having to reach too far to get to get its ideas or its general conceit. It's not to say it's simplistic in design, but it's to say that there is a little bit more of a levity or sense of it doesn't feel as that sense of density is not as felt as much as it is the sincerity, which may be a flaw. It perhaps may be for some people, but I think for me anyway, I think that it provides. I think it provides more room for the sincerity and for the resonance to take shape. And especially for a story that is about emotion, I think that a story like this should be emphasizing that on emotion. And it definitely does. And I think that there is very interesting developments. There are some exaggerative stuff that some people will probably take issue with. Of course, I think the scene that people will point to the most is the scene of the. We kind of talked about it in the my review of Love Me, that specific sexual activity that takes place in the film. Stuff like that. Yes, can become Depending on your overall experience with the film, that scenes like that can definitely make or break, I guess. But at least for me anyway, I was already involved in it. So in a scene like that, on one level, you can take it as an exaggeration. But I think for me, I think that it's almost like a weird therapeutic exercise of of emotion, you know. And to some extent, that's the journey that Joaquin Phoenix's character goes through. It's just exercising his emotions and exploiting those emotions and realizing that there is more to love than what he is looking for, or you know, there's more to just an emotional bondage than just his own desires, or a, you know, a surface level sense of of a relation. There's more to it, and I think that generally, through the help of technology in a weird way, he does come to finding more, and and at the end, you know, he does find a connection, a very sincere one, a one that was always there, perhaps. And I think that by overall just narrative, and by overall just conceit, by thematic interest, by the drive, I think that it's a film that I think very much so solidly crafts this portrait of what it means to have, of what it means to seek a sense of belonging, seeking a relationship, or seeking some partnership, and recognizing the flaw perhaps in your own philosophy and what needs to change, you know, a sense of acceptance, or maybe, you know, you need to reevaluate your own self before you take that step. Like, there's ideas in her that I think, you know, give it color, and give it a compelling edge, and very much so, I think, focusing on not only the study of the specific character, you know, in Joaquin Phoenix, but I think in just this thematic idea of loneliness, that search for belonging, or a greater purpose. I think that it does a fair job in it. So I enjoy it. I do admit that my view of her is a little clouded, just because it has been a very, very long time since I've seen it. But upon talking about it, I do remember things about it, you know, very much so. But I just to clarify, because I could be wrong in some of my examinations. But I do believe that I have a general view of the film overall. It definitely has left an impression on me. I remember really enjoying it. But yeah, I still I think it's a good piece. I think that some people will be turned off by it because of just the literal of what's being discussed. But I think that there's a good idea there. I think that narratively speaking, how it ultimately moves through the story, I think that it's done in interesting ways. Good performances to supply it, and generally just a enjoyable piece, and I find myself in good company with it. Would I call it great? No. I think that, like I said, there is a simplicity, but I don't take it too harshly as an issue, but I do acknowledge that there is some issues there that perhaps could have been tinkered with. But I think that overall there's a good momentum. I think that there is good performances. I think there's good writing. I think that there's a good choice in portraying aesthetic, you know, emphasizing more on the real world, and allowing for the for any futuristic depictions to kind of sit in the background, and in turn allowing the story to really take center stage, and less so in a desire for style. So, and it blossoms, and I think it works. I think that it gives a good portrait to its ideas, at least in my opinion. So yeah, so those are my thoughts on her. I like it. I like it. I thought it was pretty good. I like I said, my memory of it might be a bit fuzzy. You guys can tell me, but I feel like I got it. I feel like I have a good hold to what the film was. But But yeah, those are my thoughts on Her. You guys let me know your thoughts on Her if you guys have seen it in the comment section below. Your thoughts on, any other films like they're romance based because, this Valentine's Day and stuff. So just curious, whatever you guys have your thoughts in the comment section below. Let me know your favorite rom-coms or films that explore that of love or emotion. Let me know all your thoughts in the comment section below. And apologies if I'm a little just all over the place. Like I said, just been a busy few days, and just my dexterity and just my just my attention is a little bit of a mist. So yeah, so hopefully I'll be good by Monday or so. We'll see. But let me know all your thoughts in the comment section below. And that's gonna be it for this video, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. And until then, I will catch you guys in the next video. Bye.